Hi guys, having convinced people to vote for Brexit in 2016 based on immigration bad, Nigel Farage seems determined to resurrect the narrative in order to help his pet project, Reform UK. At the local elections they gained 2 council seats to bring them to a total of 6. Nigel seems to believe that if he keeps beating the anti-immigration drum enough, it will somehow resonate with the public. I believe he's wrong. Have a listen to him being challenged by Victoria Derbyshire on Newsnight.
What about the social cost of this? What about the political cost of this? Be in no doubt, the only reason we won the referendum for the Leave side was because people believed getting control of our borders would mean the numbers would be lower. That was implicit in what Boris Johnson went to the country with in 2019.
But they did
so
not
this is a
vote
breach of trust.
They did not vote that way in the local elections last week. The Tories lost over 1,000 seats, as you know.
Well, hardly surprising.
Well, Reform put up 465 councillors, net gain of 2. In total, they have 6 councillors. Those votes were going to Labour, the Greens, the LibDems.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, frankly...
So you're the outlier now?
Frankly, no, I don't believe that for a moment. The disappointment that people have, the disappointment Brexit voters have in what the Conservatives have failed to deliver has actually sent much of the Red Wall back to Labour, where they came from in the beginning.
Exactly, so they're not going to Reform.
But not at this stage. Reform isn't big enough. It isn't big enough.
Okay.
It isn't strong enough.
They put up 465 councillors.
Out of 8,000.
Right, OK.
Yeah, thank you. You know, they're small. Reform is a very small political party at the moment. Most people in the country don't even know that it exists.
That's a very interesting take from the former leader of the Brexit Party. Now, back in 2019, January 2019, the Brexit Party was set up. In May that year, they faced their first political challenge. That was the European elections in May, and they won 29 seats. Of course, because of Brexit. So they were set up in 2019, in January 2019. A few months later, in May, they went to the polls and they won 29 seats. Reform UK was set up 3 years ago, in May 2020. And Nigel is trying to sell the narrative that, well, you know, nobody's ever heard of Reform UK. Could it be that people don't care about Brexit anymore, Nigel? People don't care about immigration. Their concerns at the local elections was local issues, but along with that, the cost of living crisis.
So at the moment, there is no political challenge to the government whatsoever. But I repeat the point. This is a breach of trust. Voters expected numbers to come down. But more significantly, and this is what nobody will discuss, is the damage these numbers are doing to our quality of life. All we ever hear is what the Bank of England say, whether GDP could be a little bit better than was predicted. We bow to the god of GDP and we forget what this is doing to our communities, our chances of, say, getting a house for our children.
That could easily, the government could easily build more houses. It could easily build more school places.
You cannot build... No, I'm sorry. Unless you know the numbers coming in, you cannot plan school places, you cannot plan house building. At the moment, this immigration system is totally out of control. It needs to have a cap of some kind.
So he's back to blaming immigration once again. Trying to convince people that immigrants are the enemy, not the government. Not the government that has imposed austerity for the last number of years. Not the government that sold off council houses, allowed people to buy those houses and then didn't replace that bought up stock. So the amount of social housing and affordable housing has dropped since the 1980s, but Nigel wants you to blame immigrants for that. Or the government not being able to build houses because they don't know how many immigrants are coming in. Like, if the government had actually dealt with this, leave out immigration for a moment, more people would be able to afford a house. More people would be able to get on the property ladder. But it's convenient just to blame immigration. He's banging this drum again. It didn't work at the local elections. He's hoping that it can be used at the general election. It may convince some people to vote for Reform UK, but I don't think they're going to win any seats. But it's not about them winning power. It's about pushing the Conservative Party more to the right. Because if the Conservatives fear that they're going to lose support to Reform UK or other headbanger parties, they're going to run to the right. He doesn't give up. He's continually focusing on this issue of immigration. It won him support in the 2010s. It helped get Brexit over the line. It got Boris Johnson, in a sense, into number 10 in 2019. But the reason people flocked to the Conservatives in 2019 was because Boris Johnson told them he would take Brexit off the table. We would no longer be talking about Brexit. Now people have moved on from that, back to bread and butter issues. And of course, they've flocked back to the Labour Party. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.